So, in this new series, we will talk about original sin. What is actually meant by original sin? Let me give you an example. There are many tribes that live in isolated islands and in jungles that have had no contact with civilization. I was watching a documentary on these tribes, and they're all so interesting. You know, they live in jungles, they use spears, they have bones in their noses, and some of them don't have bones in their noses, but these tribes live from the earth. They live the way people lived 10,000 years ago. And there's this case that's just very interesting. A beautiful people, light brown skin, lovely classic Greek features. And one day, a plane flies overhead, and something drops out of the plane onto their area, the area of this tribe. And the tribe is quite amazed by it and goes to see what it is that the plane dropped. And they were amazed at what they found. There were supplies, there was food, there was a whole bunch of things, cloth, drinks, everything. And the natives were amazed and delighted by this bounty that came out of the sky. And sometimes they would see the plane fly over and drop something elsewhere. So they tried to follow the plane, which they had never seen before. And they saw on one of their scouting parties that there was probably an American military base in the jungle, in a jungle clearing. And they watched, and they saw these military men performing ritual dances. What were these ritual dances? They were marching in step with one another and doing all those rifle movements, that military people do when they're marching. They were marching in step, they were doing military salutes, they were moving their rifles, all it synchronized. And they saw that there were watchtowers in this military camp and parked planes. So they were very intrigued, and sometimes they went back to their village and they would see planes fly over. Now obviously the package that the plane dropped the first time near their village was simply dragged by the wind. It came down in a parachute, and the wind carried it into this unknown native village. Well, the natives did not understand anything about this or why the package came down, but they saw that in this military camp, packages were arriving all the time. And so they thought that they would attract the packages. So they built a watchtower in their village of sticks and mud. And they built planes of sticks and mud in their village and strewed these planes around, hoping to attract packages. And they watched the military ritual, synchronized, quote, dance, unquote, and they started practicing the same movements. They were very good at military marching. They marched in step, they were rigid, they had eyes forward, they moved their rifles exactly the way they're supposed to be moved. Now, why am I saying this as an explanation of original sin? Because the natives perceived only a part of the reality. Sometimes the planes would fly over and the wind would catch the parachute, and the packages would drop into their village, and nobody came looking for the packages because jungle. So they wanted to attract what they wanted. They wanted more planes. They wanted to seem to be a place where packages would be dropped by planes. And this is an example of our semi-grasp of the reality of our existence and of the external reality around us. It says in the Bible, we see as through a veil darkly. And this is an example of perceiving a part of reality, the natives, but not grasping the whole reality. So they went through all these rituals. They had their morning marches. They did all this to attract packages. Isn't that charming? And they did very well. They were very good at it. But it wasn't helping bring the packages. And so original sin, in a way, is a limited perception of what is real, of what is really going on, of the purposes of reality, of the purpose of the package. Original sin is a closure of the mind and the heart, of its inability to see the big picture. And so we operate on good intentions and misguided actions that aren't really helping us the way we hope that it's helping us. Original sin is an inability to fully understand the reality in which we participate. And that original sin is the original fall from grace. When nature was cursed, if you remember in the Bible, in the Garden of Eden, everything grew.